Is divorce harder on women or men?
That's a great question. I think it's equally hard on both, but I think that the world is more sympathetic to women when they get divorced. I think when a woman gets cheated on, the man's a piece of shit. And when a woman cheats on a man, she must have been forced into the arms of this other man, or she had to explore herself, or she was being neglected in some fashion. And you can't win! So if a man cheats, he's a piece of garbage. And if a man's wife cheats, he mustn't have been meeting her needs. And she had every right in the world. Like, so the world is very unsympathetic
To men, right?
to men when they get divorced.
And that about sums it up. You as a man, why do you want to get into a union that no matter what happens is always your fault and never their fault? And as Marion says from Rocky, you can't win. Hey, my friends, welcome to the RP Experience. Peace and love to my brothers and sisters out there. Thank you for hitting the like button, subscribing, sharing, and turn on all notifications so you know when I have a whole new video up. Today's video is going to be about this prominent divorce attorney. And this might be somewhat of an old video. And of course, I got it late. I know I saw it on the Coach Greg Adams channel, but I want to find the original version, and also saw some other people do it. But I want to do my own thing now because I feel more confident to do more of my own full-length videos, unless if somebody has a real good comedy take to it or something, then I'll piggyback off of theirs. Anyway, before I begin this talk about what this divorce lawyer said, I'm going to throw a bone to the women, because when you get married, it's two in the relationship. And as I say in the beginning, most of the time it's all on the man's lap that he's failed, he didn't do right, and that's why she's leaving or she hopped onto another guy, and the list goes on and on. The more I think about it, it's kind of like I understand why men are kind of like, I should not be trying to make her happy. We should be making our own selves happy. I agree and disagree with that sentiment, because if a person can make you miserable, they can also help make you happy, not let them be your total source of happiness. Because I don't know, I think that's a flawed way of thinking if you're putting all that pressure on someone. But at the same time, one of the reasons you are with them is for you to feel better and to become a better person yourself. Anyway, let me share this thing a little bit on the women's point of view, but this is mostly for the men, because I'm sorry, we take more of a loss when it's divorce. I know that guy was trying to be nice in a sense, but maybe women pay more long term than men do, because once we get back on our feet, is back off into the races again. But that initial chopping is very painful. So anyway,
Although I have to tell you, one of the most depressing divorces I ever did was a guy who was, I think, 92.
Oh, geez.
And what made it depressing is that he had left his wife of, 50-something, 60-something years for a younger woman, a woman in her 50s. And I just remember what was sad about it to me was this guy is still being led around by his, like I thought, oh my God, like I'm gonna be chained to an idiot forever. Like I'm gonna forever be led around by. And I remember thinking like, no, I really thought that at like 90 something, I would just, like a beautiful woman would walk by and I go, oh, there's a human being. Like there would be no.
You can appreciate it without.
Yeah, there would just be no sense of like, yeah, you know, that would be gone from me. And this guy's proof that 90 something years old and you're still thinking with.
I could not use the word, but obviously he was talking about the head down there. Yeah, that's a thing that women faced. Not as much now because, like I say, they get walking away money. And I believe that happened because they was getting smashed and discarded like nuts, I guess, back in the day. And the patriarchy or the guys in charge actually felt somewhat bad for the women and also probably say, you know what, we can also capitalize on this because we can tax that. So for those women that they husband just ups and leaves and gets like a new bombshell or something, I believe this is why that happened. Now I do think it's outdated now because I don't think as many men, well, they'll have mistresses and stuff. And that way, I guess women don't have to take it. But see, once again, it has to be more balanced because even if you are a good, decent man, the only thing she has to get is bored. And once she gets bored, it's game over. Or either she comes across a Chad or Tyrone, a guy, because there's a segment of men that likes taking or borrowing another man's woman. So once she gets a taste of that, then she's going to be
in these streets.
You'll be in these what?
Yep. That's exactly what she will be doing. So I don't think it's lopsided as it used to be because women can walk away and depending if they kept themselves up, they can still go out there and have their fun. The thing is though, they may not see men lining up to marry them because I know plenty of single moms that been able to still snag a dude. So now I do think it decreases the depending on the amount of kids that the woman has. So hey, that is my bone to the women. I understand your predicament when a guy just ups and leave you, and only if maybe you are still in love with him. But in most cases, most of you already have like a bunch of guys in your friends list that you can just rebound or either occupy your time with, and plus you have like girlfriends and stuff that you can renew and be out here. So anyway, let's begin. I may not jump in as much because I want this guy to talk and I want the men to definitely listen. Women, you can listen too, especially you the ones of you that are so hell-bent on getting married. Now I'm not sure if it's because of societal pressure or either if you really love this man and you want to spend the rest of your life with him, but do you really understand those vows or are you just saying them?
Industry, there's all kinds of industries here.
Oh yeah.
But to me, sometimes I wonder if female attractiveness isn't the highest valued commodity in our
100% it is. 100%.
It is.
Yeah, of course.
Because men are becoming rich and powerful in order to get a woman.
Of course.
The woman they want.
Of course. What an attractive woman, and when I say attractive, I don't just mean attractive, I mean even just sexually confident. I mean, what an unbelievably lucrative career that is. Like I do divorces for people that, a woman walks out with $200-300 million. He was an analyst at Goldman Sachs who built a hedge fund and then sold it and then used his trading algorithm to build it up to $500 million. She was hot and slept with him for a while and then stopped and started sleeping with other people and playing tennis and having Botox, and she's going to get half. Like, that's fucking incredible. Like, do you know what he had to do to get that? And what she had to, I'll fuck that guy for $200 million. Are you kidding me? Like, that's insane. That's incredible. Like, and God bless. I mean, I'm not saying that this is the rules of the game, you know, but you can't argue that that's not easier than going to Harvard.
No, for sure. But then the payoff, the trade-off for that is that when they hit a certain age, the value decreases.
Right. Any stock, if you hold it too long, it's going to go down, you know, like, so play the stock the right way. I mean, and that's what I think, if we were a little more honest about the nature of male-female coupling, I mean, right now we can't even establish what is gender, you know, we can't establish any of that anymore. So divorce is becoming incredibly hilarious and fraught.
So when was it invented? Like 2000 BC, roughly. And the life expectancy of humans back then was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And marriage was created for
land ownership
and things like that.
Yeah.
And if you're going to die in your early 20s or whatever, then getting married at 16, 18 makes sense.
Well, I think there's a distinction that has to be made between pair bonds and marriage, right? Marriage is a government concept. Marriage is a contract. Marriage is a legal status. Pair bonds, right? Two people go in it together, you know, saying, hey, there's 7.3 billion people in the world, and the two of us, we're gonna lock up together, and we're gonna try to hold hands and get through this thing.
Till we're 80 years old.
Well, until whatever, you know. I mean, what's interesting is, first of all marriages end. They end in death or divorce, but they all end. Like, every marriage ends. So it's one of the only things that you go, wow, I really hope this ends in us dying. You know, most things, that's not the desired outcome. But in marriage, you hope marriage will end in death. You hope that you will be together until one or both of you die. You know, but all marriages end.
But so, as a guy, as a provider, if you knew it was going to end and you were going to have to give away half your money, you might think twice about doing it.
Well, I think that's what makes being a divorce lawyer interesting, is that it's a lot of what a court has to do is disregard what happened in the marriage, because the truth is at the bottom of a bottomless pit. Like, you're never going to get there. Yeah, well, he's fucking his secretary. Right, because you are not sleeping with me anymore. I have a client whose wife acknowledges she didn't sleep with him for 6 years.
That's why a lot of women don't get this. Sex, or rather intimate relations with your woman, your wife, is very important to men. Very, very, very important. Men will try to downplay it because it's like shame with us wanting that, but is downplayed. Now, I understand some people's situations is different. I have a female associate that she's working, she's going to school, and she's also a single mom. Her plate is full. Now she's not with her ex-husband. She's with a new man now. Now that man supposedly cannot, that's a complaint that he's not getting it enough. Now, truthfully, I would say you two need to break up, even though you two may be compatible. Maybe I would tell the woman, finish your schooling first and then you two get back together or something, if that's going to happen. Because otherwise, the guy is going to reach for something else, whether it's the adult entertainment stuff or a full-grown woman he's going to reach to. I don't agree with that, but that's what's going to happen. But see, what flipped around is the same thing when women don't get attention. This is why I didn't really have that intimacy problem in my marriage, because I did give her attention. But what if I had a job that I had to work like 10, 12, like 15 hours? And especially even though I remember at one time I wanted to do truck driving or something. Yeah, those type of things that you are away from your woman, unless if she's like really busy or she lives on a compound or something like the Amish, she's going to get lonely. Even if she has girlfriends, and especially if they single, they're gonna be pushing her to do things. So you guys are just asking for trouble right there. I even know women that's always taking vacation with their girlfriends and stuff like that. Okay, I know that's something that you like to do, but if you do it during the marriage, you are asking for trouble, especially if you two are not you two are spending too much time away from each other and he's not getting that intimacy and you are not getting that attention. Okay.
What did you think was going on if you didn't sleep with him for 6 years? So delegate. You've delegated that responsibility. If you don't want to have sex with him, that's okay. No one should force you to have sex with this person. Let him go have sex with someone else. You don't want to do the laundry, hire someone to do the laundry. If you don't want to mow your own lawn, hire someone to mow the lawn. Delegate that responsibility. And this guy wasn't even sleeping around. He was going to those hand job places, where you get a massage and you get the most pathetic thing in the world, the most innocuous thing in the world. He didn't have a girlfriend. There was no love involved. He was getting jacked off for $50. That's sad. First of all, hand jobs, that's an outdated technology. That's like a Betamax, who even does that anymore? But he was doing this and he just thought, okay, that's fine. She had the indignation to say, he shouldn't be a custodial parent. He's a terrible person because he's doing this. And I was like, wait, how is that much different than going to a strip club? How is that much more different? Because we just, he was like, well, should I deny it? And I was like, is it true? And he's like, well, yeah. I said, no, we should own it. Let's go in and say, yeah, you know what? Yeah, it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. My wife didn't sleep with me for 6 years, and I'm human. And I wanted to have sex still. I didn't want to blow up my life. I didn't want to screw up my kids and have my kids have divorced parents. So I thought, all right, she's clearly not interested in me anymore. I'm not going to have a girlfriend and get caught up in all the things where people could get hurt and there's feelings and fatal attraction and stuff. I'm just going to go. It'll be transactional, like going to a strip club or anything else. And is it a little pathetic that I'm a guy who makes $1 million a year in finance and I'm paying someone $50 to jack me off? Yeah, that's kind of pathetic, but you know what? I figured out. But to suggest that means I'm a bad parent, that has nothing to do with my parenting at all, period. So, and thankfully the judge agreed with me on that one. But I really do think that the idea, I don't think, if you break it down fundamentally, 56% of marriages end in divorce. Think about, that's the ones that end in divorce. So how many people, what percentage stay together for the kids? Or because they don't want to give away half their shit. Another 10%? That's conservative. But let's say 20% then, okay?
That's at least right.
You now have a technology that fails 76% of the time. That's insane. That's more likely than not. 76%. If I told you there's a 76% chance when you walk out the door today you're going to get hit in the head with a bowling ball, you would not go out or you'd wear a helmet for sure. But people just continue to get married. Not only do they continue to get married, there's a presumption that you should get married. And if you don't get married, there's something wrong with you. So if you've got a girlfriend and you've been with her for 5 years and you say to someone, we're getting married, they go, oh, that's great. They don't go, why? You're happy. Why would you get married? Everything's going fine. Why would you put yourself through that? Why would you run that risk? If you say to someone, we've been together 5 years and we've decided we're not going to get married. We're going to move in together, but we're not going to get married. Ooh, what's wrong? You have intimacy issues? What's your problem?
Now, this one, I'm going to take the woman's side, but only partially. Because I understand their thing when they're with a guy 3 to 5 years. By that time, it's kind of like, hey, you may as well tie the knot. Obviously, you're not going to leave each other. You may as well make it official. Now, I used to definitely believe that. But now, just because of the fact of a lot of people will get married, then have kids, then divorce. Which, however, though, that's a totally separate video of how kids will change your relationship. Now, I will say one thing for the lady side. It says, men, you got to help her more with the kids than what you may be used to hearing, because handling a baby, and especially if they have a condition like colic or something like that, or waking up in the middle of the night, eating, and of course I understand if the guy has to wake up real early to go to work, some kind of way you guys have to work up a schedule with that. But I do agree that the guy should help. And I know I helped as much as I could help. But, pretty much like when things fall apart, it was like everything I did didn't matter. It's like she didn't appreciate it and she was ungrateful. Even though now she tells me that she does appreciate me, but I don't know if that's coming from a sincere place sometimes, just because I know how she will say things real venomous to people and how she even said it toward me. But anyway, getting back to what we was talking about, I understand a woman's point of view, but the thing is, though, women don't really honor the contract anymore. As soon as they're unhappy or is like some type of difficulty, or either they meet like a new guy or something like that, they just bail out because they know they get wins.
Problem. Meanwhile, 56% end in divorce. It's literally fits the legal definition of negligence. It's a negligent behavior. The way you define negligence in law school is when what you lose by not doing something, okay, is lower than the risk of harm. It's what's called a BPL analysis. So the burden of not doing a thing is lower than the likelihood, the probability of harm. So BPL, so burden, probability, and loss. Marriage is an inherently negligent activity. It's like owning a lion. Like the likelihood of someone getting hurt seriously by this is very, very high. No one ever says it to you, because why? Because, and I would say something, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I still get misty-eyed at weddings. Like I still really, there's something in me that goes like, maybe it'll work out for these two.
You still believe in love?
Sweet. I absolutely believe in love. I think love is wonderful. But love and marriage have very little to do with each other. I don't think there's much of a correlation there. And I think that's where we got off track. Like, I believe in pair bonds. I don't think I can learn everything I need to know about myself from myself. I think having someone around me who sees my blind spots, and that doesn't have to be a romantic partner. That could be a friend. That could be any number of things. But there is something wonderful about romantic connection. We know that. I mean, the other statistic is 56% of marriages end in divorce, but 84% of people who get divorced are remarried within 5 years of their divorce.
Really?
Let's think about that. So now you've done it and failed and felt the pain of the loss, and within 5 years, 84% are remarried.
So when you fall in love, and you're with a partner who's in love with you,
Sure.
it's like hard to put the brakes on and say, you know what, that's as far as I'm going to go.
Well, I think whoever discovered water, it wasn't a fish. And I think when we're in a thing, we don't see it. And so, I mean, and this is true of any of us.
There must be some endorphins, something's being released in our brains.
Listen, you want to test that theory. The next time you're out with a couple who've been together for a while, and it like seems like they maybe got in a fight, or they're just like kind of being, impatient with each other at the table, when you go like a group thing. Just say to them, so tell me about how you met. Tell me the story of how you met. And everything on them changes. Like they go back to that place. And there's this like, oh yeah, and she was this. Because for that second, you go back to that place. Like you can go, someone with a horrible divorce, if you could get them to go to that place and talk to you about that time. Like I would tell you something, when I was a kid, they are weaponized against each other now, and we are trying to kill each other, and we're taking every secret, every intimacy, everything, and we're just
at their ugliest.
At their ugliest, at their worst. And there's something in me that just the thought that like, you guys at some point you were like, there's 7.3 billion people in the world and you're the one. Like you're the one I just want to be with and smell and touch, and like that feeling, we all know that feeling of like just the electricity of another person, and I think I'm a romantic at heart in the sense that I really get it. Like I really get why we do this. I felt it, I know it, I understand it. But tying that to the technology of marriage to me makes almost no sense whatsoever. And I actually think it's almost antagonistic to that connection with another person, because there's so much expectation that comes with marriage culturally. We've created so much stuff around it. Like when you marry someone, there's supposed to be at least in the modern Western model, your best friend, best roommate, best co-parent, best travel partner, best roommate, best everything, best activity partner. Like how would one person be all of those things? That's insane. Like if I was interviewing for a job and said, I want you to be the best typist, and I also want you to be best on the phone, and I also want you to be great at that. And I ran down a list of dissimilar things. Like, or if I went to an amazing chef and I said, I know you're a great chef, but can you farm? Like, well, that has to do with food, but they're not the same thing. Like, what are you talking? So I think, why do we put on people this idea, like whoever came up with the word soulmate, really we should be paying, like divorce lawyers should be paying that person dividends. Because we've convinced people that if this person isn't meeting every one of your needs, checking all of these boxes, they're not your soulmate.
And that's what I think is sold to women, because you two can be soulmates one day and she can tell you 1,000 times, then 5 to 10 years later, oh, you're not my soulmate. I met my real soulmate. Or I had a twin flame or something like that. Because of my ex-wife, I no longer believe in soulmates anymore. And I was one of those types of guys to believe in that Disney fairy tale shit. But it's also a thing that also got me sucked in, because you do kind of think that your soulmate would be able to totally understand you and read you. And that's the thing too. Now, the one thing I will say, I do think there are people out there that can match you almost perfectly, but it will be some things that they will be lacking in. Now, the only scary thing is as you get older, you're going to change, and your values and your friends and things are going to change about you. And when that changes, does that mean that the person that you was with no longer fits what you wanted at that time in your life? If that's the case right there, that's another reason why, yeah, I don't think marriage is a good thing, especially for men. Now, I will say for women, I will say for people that's like young couples and stuff like that, if you want to try marriage, then go ahead and do it. But if things fall out, especially if you one of those saying this is my twin flame and this is my soulmate and stuff like that, and then I look at you like 3, 4, or 5 years later, you're like, oh no, that was my false twin, that wasn't my soulmate, oh, that was a karmic connection or something like that. I'm not going to believe anything that you say, because yeah. Anyway, before this video gets too long, he has a couple more things to say, and I'm probably going to add one more thing.
Yeah.
Tend to,
What do you think the secret is to keeping a marriage vital, keeping it alive?
I think people get unhappy in marriages the way that people go bankrupt, which is very slowly and then all at once. I think it's very slow and then it just goes off a cliff. So everybody will say, well, we divorced because he was cheating or she was cheating, or we divorced because he had an alcohol issue or a drug issue. I genuinely think that the secret to staying happy in a marriage is probably the same secret to maintaining a healthy weight. Don't wait till you get super fat and then try to lose the weight. Don't wait until you get really sick. Like my sister's a dentist. And she always says, if you have a toothache, there's nothing I can do really. Like I can pull the tooth, I can give you a root canal, but like I can prevent you from getting a toothache. If you just come see me regularly and you just floss and you just brush your teeth, you'll never get a toothache. By the time your tooth hurts, something is already seriously wrong. By the time you're in a divorce lawyer's office, you're fucked. The whole thing's fucked at that point. Like you'd be better off just, figuring out the preventative maintenance, right? Like change the oil in your car. Like, so if you reverse engineer divorce, like most people, the marriage killer, the cheating or the gambling or the whatever, that's the symptom. Like the problem is these little disconnections, One of the best stories I have is I had a client who I did her divorce. And we'd spend a lot of time together because you do. You know, when you're a divorce lawyer, you spend a lot of time with people and you get to know them very well. I mean, people will lie to their therapist. They won't lie to their divorce lawyer because A, there's no reason to, and B, I need to know everything, and it's all attorney-client privilege. And this woman, we were sitting outside the courtroom waiting on a break in testimony. And she was a young woman in her probably like late 30s, you know, very attractive. And we were just chit-chatting, and I said to her, you know, was there a moment when you realized the marriage is over? You know, like, was there a moment? And she said, yeah. And I said, when was it? And she said, there was this granola that I like. She said, they only sold it at like this particular grocery store, and I like to put it in my yogurt. And she said, he used to always, whenever I'd be running low on it, I would just open the thing one day and a new bag would be there. She's like, and she's like, it made me feel so loved. Like, I didn't have to ask. He didn't want credit for it. Like, he didn't go like, oh, did you see? I got your granola that you wanted, you know? Like, he just would do this thing, you know? And she said it was just something that, like, it always made me smile. She said every time the granola was running low and there was a new bag of granola, I just felt very loved, you know? And she said one day the granola ran out. And I thought, oh, that's weird. You know, maybe he didn't see it. She's like, so I left the bag in there because I thought, well, at some point he'll notice. And he didn't notice. She goes, so I took the bag out and I waited and he didn't get a new bag. And I thought, okay, this thing's going down. And I thought to myself, wow, that's like, you know, that's such a small thing, like granola. Like, you just, but these are the things, like, these are the little things that make us feel loved and that are gestures of love. And when I said to her, was there anything like that for you with him? And she said, yeah, blowjobs. And I almost spit out my coffee. And she goes, no. She goes, when we were first dating and even first married, she's like, I used to give him blowjobs a lot. She's like, you know, do it in the morning, took 2 minutes. And he was like super happy the rest of the day, you know? She's like, the rest of the day, he would like call me or text me and be like, oh, that was so good this morning. You know, I had such pep in my step now. And she's like, it was just like, what did it really take out of my life to do that? You know, and it made him feel good. She's like, and then I got to a point where I was like, well, you know what? No, I'll wait. And then tonight we can have sex and we'll both enjoy that. Like, what is, I owe him a blowjob? Like, no, you know, like, I don't owe him that, you know? And then she said, I got to a point where it was like, I look back and I'm like, yeah, I guess I didn't do that as often, hardly ever really,
Which came first?
You know, I said that to her and she said, I couldn't tell you. She said, but I think it's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
And I do think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying blowjobs and granola is all you need to know, but, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying that a blowjob is a small thing. I don't think I have any right to. I've never given one. But it seems like a phenomenal feat, and I'm grateful for everyone I've ever received. But I don't think it's a massive investment, right? Just like buying someone's granola is not a massive.
But when you love somebody, you love doing things for them.
Right. Their pleasure
you love
pleases
making
you.
their life better.
Their joy pleases you. Like their happiness makes you happy.
Exactly.
And somewhere along the line, and it happens a lot in marriage, it becomes, well, I'm not happy. Why should you be happy? You know? And then that creates a spiral. And I really believe that that spiral could go in the other direction. Like if he did the granola, I think the blowjobs would have come. You know, and if the blowjobs were there, I bet he'd have bought the granola. Like I can't prove that. There's no control group. You know, I can't run that research. But it feels to me like those little things, like leaving a note. You know, I've said to some of my friends, you know, when they say to me, like, you know, as a divorce lawyer, you know, you see all this misery. Like, how do I stay out of your office? And I'll often say, I'm like, it's dumb little things, man. I'm like, just leave her a note. I'm like, leave her a note in the morning. Just leave a little note, says, hey, beautiful. You know, so it was so fun watching that movie with you last night. So glad we got to have a date. I'll be thinking of you today. Love you. Like, what does that take? That takes like a minute, not even. Like, and look what it can do. Like, look at how that makes this person feel. And even if right away it doesn't work, on that moment it doesn't work. Okay, do it enough times. Like, and then you're either going to figure out that this person's gone. And then just fucking bail. you're done. Like, because if you try for long enough and you give like that, but if you're not giving like that, and then you're not getting back either, well, I'm not surprised. You know, that's how you end up in my office, is this death spiral of everyone like, well, I'm not buying the granola. She's not giving me blowjobs. Well, I'm not giving him blowjobs. He's mean to me. Okay, well, everybody's just has an equal right to be fucking miserable then.
I think if you're happy with yourself, like truly happy with who you
Wow. And this conversation makes you really look at yourself. You know, that's what I'm thinking, because I have to be honest, in my marriage, that is part of the thing that was happening. I mean, we had our struggles, but we did have our good times. And I do remember I gave and she gave. And it wasn't really people keeping score. Thing is, though, I know that other people started getting involved in the relationship. And of course, it was things that I had to deal with like other men being there. So, but anyway, I can say I didn't give her as much attention, especially when we had a kid, because I felt overloaded with work and stress. And she and I just like, we was already arguing, but once we had a kid, it just went up to the zenith. And I have to admit, it just was too much. Now, if I had my finances in order, a lot of things we would not have went through. But see, this is like one of those things, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If I had went the financial way that I was trying to go, then she and I would not have spent as much time together to build the bond. But the thing is, though, even though you are building it, basically you are maintaining the bond. And then once it gets a little bit too much pressure, it just breaks. So that's another thing near. Like, you can get married to the love of your life, and eventually the pressure of life may crack you in half. The one thing I'll say is, once again, for women to keep people out of the relationship. Men, try to talk to your woman and tell her what you need, even though if it's early in the relationship, because I know I wasn't having certain problems early in the relationship. She'll probably be more receptive to it. Is when you get later in the relationship, then you start having issues. That my only theory is, because I know I was one that didn't want to be going through a lot of conflict or something. You need to have these hard conversations. And a man needs to lead these conversations, because a woman, I'm sorry, most of the time you guys are just worried about yourselves and your happiness and how you appear. Men, unfortunately, most of the time are just worried about keeping the peace. So both ways are not working, kind of in a way. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. This one was going to be a long one. If you guys are still here, like and subscribe. Watch some of my other videos. Thank you very much for the support. You guys with marriage, good luck.
Out.
how many marriages are genuinely happy, you think? How many married couples?
Gosh.
Because I see married couples that have been married, it looks like they've been married a decade or two,
Yeah.
and they're having dinner and they're having the same conversation they had yesterday or the day before, or the day before that, and the weeks and months before that. And it just
You know, here's what I'll
looks
tell you. I know a lot of people, and I think I know one couple that has like a genuinely happy marriage.
What do you think the secret is?
They really like each other. I don't know. Like, they're really good to each other. I have to tell you, they make me very uncomfortable. I jokingly, my ex-wife and I jokingly say that they were the reason we got divorced.